Marking and cutting of fabric for an ordinary petticoat. As we have constructed the pattern for an ordinary petticoat, we can now see how to mark and cut the pattern on a fabric. At the end of the session, you will be able to mark the pattern of the ordinary petticoat in a fabric, cut the fabric along the drafted lines. First, let's familiarize with the tools and materials required for marking and cutting the pattern on fabric. 50 inches or 1.5 meter of white cotton fabric. Pattern square, tailor square, French curve, tailor's chalk, measuring tape, and shears. For the convenience of drafting on fabric, we will change the view of pattern that we have constructed. Since the fabric we are using here is plain color, we don't need to look for the direction of the fabric. Let's see how to fold the fabric for the back bodies of the ordinary petticoat. From the selvage edge of the fabric, measure 7.5 inches and make a mark. Fold the fabric lengthwise over from this mark and press the fold. Ensure the selvage edge is parallel to the fold. Before we continue, let's check if the double folded cut edge is in right angle, and if not, we will correct it right now with the help of a pattern square. First, let us see how to mark the back bodies on the folded fabric. The corner where the cut edge and the fold meet is point 1. From the cut edge and along the fold, measure the front length including seam allowance and wearing ease of 12.25 inch and make a mark. This is point 0. Draw a right angle line from the fold starting from point 0. This is the shoulder line. Measure quarter of the chest including seam allowance and wearing ease, which comes to 7.5 inches, and make a mark. This is point 2. From point 2, draw a right angle line to the shoulder line, which is also parallel to the fold and also along the selvage edge. Where this line and the cut edge meet is point 10. Then find the midpoint between point 0 and point 2 and make a mark. This is point 3. Mark 1 inch on either side of point 3. The one closer to you is point 4 and the other point is point 5. From point 4, draw a right angle line for about halfway into the bodice. And from point 5, draw a right angle line for about halfway into the bodice. From point 5, measure quarter inch down and make a mark. This is point 6. Connect point 4 and point 6 in a straight line. This will be the shoulder slope. Starting from point 2, measure along the selvage edge 4.5 inches and make a mark. This is point 7. From point 7, draw a right angle line until it meets the line drawn from the point 5. From point 0, measure along the base line 1/6 of the chest, which is 4 inches, and make a mark. This is point 8. Then measure 1 inch upward from point 8. This will be point 9. From point 8, draw a right angle line until it meets the line drawn down from point 4. From point 9, draw a right angle line for about 1 inch into the bodice. Starting from point 9 in a right angle, shape towards point 4, joining the straight line. This is the back neck opening. Again, starting from point 8 in a right angle, shape towards point 4, joining the straight line. This is the front neck opening. Next, starting from point 7, we will shape the front armhole. Start drawing along the straight line, then curve into the bodice and join the line at point 6. This is the front armhole. Now, we will shape the back armhole. Again, start drawing from point 7 along the straight line and continue to shape a curve, joining the straight line at point 6. This is back armhole. From point 10, measure ½ inch to the left and make a mark. This is point 11. Connect point 7 and 11 in a straight line. Then, from point 11, measure ½ inch upward. This is point 12. Starting with a straight line from point 1, shape along midway to point 12. Now, we can cut along the drafted lines of the back bodies. Start from the waistline to the side seam, along the back armhole, to the shoulder line, and along the back neck opening. Thus we have finished cutting the back bodies. Now we will make a copy of the back bodice on the fabric once again. Place the cut back piece over the folded fabric. Ensure that it has the same width. Now, cut close to the back bodice all around, but be careful not to cut inside it. Thus, we have two back bodies. Now take the first drafted back bodies and cut along the front armhole and front neck opening. Now we have a front bodice and back bodice for our ordinary petticoat. Next, we will draft the skirt part of the ordinary petticoat. Ensure that the cut edge of the remaining fabric is in a right angle to the selvage edge, and if not, correct it with the help of a tailor square. Then measure from the cut edge along the selvage edge the length of the skirt part of 17 inch and make a mark. From this mark, fold the fabric widthwise over. Ensure the cut edge is parallel to the fold. As you could see here, the cut edge is not straight towards the right. We will straighten it up in a right angle to the folded edge using a tailor square. The corner where the two cut edges meet is point 14. Starting from point 14, measure along the horizontal cut edge the skirt width of 30 inch and make a mark. This is point 13. The corner where the cut edge and the fold meet is point 17. From point 17, measure 2 inch upward and make a mark. This is point 18. Along the fold, measure 2 inch upward and make few marks. Join the marks made. This will be the finished length. Then measure from point 17 along the fold the skirt width of 30 inches and make a mark. This is point 15. Connect point 13 and point 15 in a straight line. Where the finished length meets the line drawn now is point 16. Now we can cut along the skirt part. Cut along the last drawn line, which is 13-15, and then along the longer horizontal edge following the cut edge of the upper layer. Now cut along the folded edge to get 2 long pieces for the front and the back skirt. Thus we have finished marking and cutting the skirt part. In this session, we have marked and cut the fabric pieces for an ordinary petticoat. Before we conclude, let's take a look at the key steps involved in marking and cutting of pattern on a fabric for an ordinary petticoat. They are: Step 1. From the selvage edge, measure and mark 7.5 inches and fold the fabric lengthwise. Step 2. Mark the waist length and shoulder line. Step 3. Shape the back neck, front armhole and back armhole curves. Step 4. Cut along the drafted lines along the back neck opening and back armhole. Step 5. Place this piece over the folded fabric and make a copy. Step 6. Cut along the drafted lines to get the back bodies. Step 7. Cut along the front neck opening and front armhole line of the first cut piece to get the front bodies. Step 8. Mark and cut the skirt piece. With that, we have come to the end of the session.